Good day, everyone. Welcome to this session on talent intelligence technologies. Today we have Matt Merker of IDC presenting IDC's perspective on AI and key developments in talent acquisition. Matt is a research manager for talent acquisition strategy. His research at IDC focuses on innovation that improves the candidate and recruiter experience. Previously, Matt was a senior analyst for ALM Information Services, where he provided in-depth research and analysis in the strategy and HR consulting spaces. Matt will be joined by Kamal Ahluwalia, president of Eightfold, after his presentation. So please join me in welcoming Matt Merker.
Thanks, Michael. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to IDC's perspectives on talent intelligence technologies, AI and talent marketplace and internal mobility, job intelligence, and succession planning. I'm looking forward to our conversation today, touching on some of these major topics that are impacting the talent acquisition market as we see it currently, and talking about where we've come and where we're going. So in this presentation, we'll review the current business state of talent acquisition technology, current buyer perspective on AI and those applications, what specific technology solutions within the TA space that utilize AI are resonating with the market right now, what specific outcomes for organizations are arising through the use of these technologies, and finally, a full review of what IDC expects to occur in the future and what organizations should look for when assessing new technologies for integration into their tech stack. But before we dive into the specific technology topics we want to cover today, let's set the stage a little bit in terms of the talent acquisition business state and the road to recovery from COVID-19. So the COVID-19 pandemic and the subsequent lockdowns caused a retraction in client spending within the TA market in tandem with significant furloughs and layoffs. The need for talent acquisition technologies diminished, and the need for talent acquisition staff diminished as well during that period, as many of those professionals were among those furloughed. Greater focus was placed on business continuity and cost optimization within organizations and streamlining processes and reducing costs wherever possible to levels that were not previously expected or needed before. But the recovery period, as you see to the right, shows a resurgence in TA spending as buyers are seeking to recoup their talent losses from 2020. And in order to recoup losses at what typically are high volumes, there needs to be a streamlining and automation of talent acquisition functions to allow recruiters to handle the excess workload. Additionally, there is a need for improved analytics capability for diversity, equity, and inclusion, as that has become a very hot topic within the space over the past year especially. And then focusing on going forward in the hybrid and virtual working models that continue to this day, creating a best-in-class virtual hiring and onboarding experience for your potential candidates. So in response to the COVID recovery and end user demands, what are some of the supplier trends that we're seeing in the space today? Vendors are focused on continuous innovation of features to remain competitive. As organizations are continuing their recovery, TA vendors are seizing on that demand in several areas. So just to run through these, we'll start at the top. Workforce and performance analytics remain a top priority in vendor innovations, with the goal of improving key metrics in real time, providing opportunity for faster, more agile responses to talent acquisition and mobility campaigns. Analytics may be from a skills matching perspective, geographic perspective, or a diversity perspective, among multiple other ways to slice and analyze the data. But to that end, we are seeing greater innovation in reporting agility as well, with the feature of customized reporting for multiple levels within an organization growing rapidly in popularity. Next up, we have AI and machine learning. One of the main major topics that we'll be talking about today is driving the automation and intelligent role and skills matching functions forward, and we'll dive into that more later. Candidate experience, which encompass a host of solutions aimed toward improving accessibility to talent acquisition tech to allow easier job applying experiences. This includes areas such as communication strategies, nurture campaigns, and candidate enablement through features such as chatbots and video recruiting technologies, among many others. Onboarding experience as a candidate becomes a new hire. We often talk about employee experience and candidate experience. However, the onboarding or new hire experience is an area that's historically been overlooked. That trend is shifting, however, and we are now seeing development of bespoke solutions that ensure once a new hire signs on the dotted line to join a company, that they are still receiving a best-in-class experience for a strong first impression. Next up, we have internal mobility and talent marketplace, which have become major topics as the job market continues to contend with the Great Resignation, and we'll also be diving into this topic shortly. Next in the trends is globalized talent acquisition. As organizations are moving more towards hybrid and remote work models as a standard way of doing business even post-pandemic, how does talent acquisition take advantage of that new capability? A natural progression of that model is the increasing geographic spread of the talent pool. And then, as mentioned before, the diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that we've seen grow particularly strongly over the past year. Companies are seeking vendors that use analytics that provide real-time status updates to improve DEI and strengthen the talent top of funnel, while also identifying bottlenecks through the interview and the hiring process. Rounding out the discussion on the talent acquisition business state, we must also note the significant churn of employees as the economy recovers in the pandemic, creating a particularly competitive market in the war for talent among organizations. Quit rates and job openings are at a significant high, as shown in the graphics on this slide from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Multiple factors are impacting this churn. First, we have compensation, where there's increasing conversation about the risk associated with in-person positions during a pandemic, and how compensation is no longer commensurate under the new circumstances the pandemic created. We see this in a lot of in-person industries such as retail, manufacturing, and construction. Work-life balance, as employees are reticent to return to the office. An increased need of employees to have a sense of purpose in their work. Also simply burnout after over 1.5 years of lockdowns and other pandemic restrictions coupled with extreme workload due to employment shortages. There's a difficult cycle to break for turnout, as the labor shortage creates a strong atmosphere for that to occur, causing employees to leave and thus creating even more opportunity for burnout among the employees that remain. Professional development opportunities for advancement and to improve oneself within an organization are also factors considered by employees when choosing to leave an organization. And then finally, employer brand. Employees or potential candidates these days are looking more and more at the reputations of the companies to which they are applying or to which they belong. If the organization does not align with an employee's values, they are more likely to seek work elsewhere. Now let's discuss briefly IDC's perspective on buyer perceptions of AI applications in the talent acquisition space. As we prepare to discuss the specific technologies that are utilizing AI and machine learning, let's discuss adoption reticence for a moment. IDC finds the majority of organizations that do not robustly utilize AI machine learning in their daily operations believe that the technology is yet unproven and thus not worth the cost. However, in our recent industry AI survey, we discovered that as organizations slowly introduce AI/ML into their operations, their confidence in that capability will grow rapidly. The graphic you see here identifies the likelihood of AI machine learning adopters to accept additional costs to their TA technologies for AI to improve critical areas of talent acquisition strategies. These include minimizing bias to improve DEI outcomes, intelligent team formation from a skills perspective, and succession planning. So moving on, let's talk about the solutions that talent acquisition technology vendors are creating. We'll review several key solutions, including internal mobility and talent marketplaces, skills matching, jobs intelligence, and succession planning. So when we talk about internal mobility and talent marketplace opportunities, also becoming more commonly known as opportunity marketplaces, they're designed with several ideas in mind. So let's break down the opportunities for both recruiters and employees through utilization of talent marketplaces, starting with recruiters. First, improving employee retention and utilization. The talent market is reaching a point where, with the high turnover and churn of talent, there's a real concern among employers to ensure that their top talent employees remain within company, whether that is with the position they are currently in or at a new position internally. The growing desperation to retain talent is quickly dispelling legacy stigmas with internal moves within an organization. Improved utilization of employees for hard-to-fill roles is another benefit to the talent marketplace approach, as recruiters now have a much broader pool of candidates to select from for those roles as internal candidates are integrated into the pipeline. Advanced utilizers of internal mobility are able to create a domino effect, filling hard-to-fill roles with internal talent that in turn vacates a role that is easier to fill from external candidates. Full and enthusiastic adoption of internal mobility initiatives in talent marketplaces are also known to increase positive internal and external perception of the company. Stronger retention rates as a result of internal mobility adoption improves external and internal company perception, as longer tenures at an organization imply that it is a healthy work environment. Further, internal perception improves through initiatives that demonstrate a meaningful desire to professionally develop employees and bring them along further in their career journeys, not just setting them on a path that works just for the employer, but something that is tailored to the individual employee and really focuses on their passions within work. Improved internal and external perception will assist recruiters by driving passive candidate flows, where candidates are actively seeking out organizations' open positions, rather than strictly active candidate flows that require recruiter search and cold open communications with potential candidates. And finally, the ability to instill workforce flexibility through primarily internal gigs. However, mentorships and fellowships also fall within this flexibility as well. Internal gig opportunities can allow employees to temporarily fill positions which recruiters are having difficulty finding candidates for, reducing disruption of work in critical task areas and buying those recruiters time to find the ideal candidate match. There is also opportunity for the internal gig employee as well, as the gig assignment could turn into a more permanent opportunity as they circulate with a different team and/or a different role within the organization. Now let's talk a bit more about the opportunities talent marketplaces gives to the employees themselves. More advanced talent marketplace and internal mobility functions are designed to work in tandem with employee professional development initiatives. The ability to move in-house to take on new roles, particularly from the internal gigs perspective, allows employees to test drive their newly acquired skills and determine if the utilization of those skills is a desired match for their career journey. Exposure to different teams in the environment also circulates internal talent among divisions that perhaps they wouldn't have had otherwise, and creates additional opportunities for advancement through networking. And then also the mentorship opportunities that I mentioned previously to give more than just online classes in order to develop learning capabilities. Matching mentors with the right employees provides great opportunity for skills development of both parties. Robust internal mobility programs also demonstrate sincere interest in employee well-being and helps to instill a sense of belonging, one of those critical factors we mentioned previously that reduces talent churn within an organization. And lastly, variety in work. The opportunity for employees who perhaps are a little bit stagnated in the role that they are currently in, but perhaps aren't looking to actually permanently move on at this point. Providing that forum for internal gigs and the ability to apply new skills learned is a great way to break up the normal workday and prevent stagnation, which also prevents burnout. Linked to internal mobility and talent marketplaces, let's talk about upskilling the workforce and the current challenges right now that exist with skills mismatch and how that can be mitigated. There are several ways that talent acquisition technologies are assisting in skills matching for the recruiters, but also for the employees. AI-powered talent marketplaces are providing recruiters with insights for potential internal candidates by aligning skills that are not only identified within resumes, but also those inferred from learning and development activity in addition to adjacent skill identification. Talent marketplaces are providing dual visibility for recruiters through the lens of skills matching, providing opportunity for recruiters to be more strategic in their candidate selection. Identifying frequent skills gaps of candidates applying for positions also assists recruiters in identifying areas within those job descriptions that may need revision to provide greater clarity to potential candidates about roles and responsibilities, and thus improve the quality of the candidates applying. And finally, using skills-based searches to populate the talent pipeline with a stronger set of candidates for current and future acquisitions. Driven through AI and machine learning, Skills Match saves recruiters a significant amount of time, allowing them to fill that talent bench quickly. For the employee, AI-powered talent marketplaces are providing visibility to their professional development and advancement opportunities as we discussed previously. The identified and inferred skills that marketplace AI illuminate automatically correlate and match employees to open positions. Employee participants in the talent marketplace are also able to take advantage of recommended learning and development courses to close identified skills gaps for targeted roles. And finally, the AI can recommend internal gig alignments for even further skills development. The utilization of the marketplace by employees in this manner allows the AI to curate and recommend job openings based upon the new skills alignment, or at least the trajectory that those employees are currently on. As employees move into new roles, advanced marketplaces will note changes in roles and identifying next steps for those employees, creating a dynamic platform to continually update and grow even as they are promoted or moved into new roles with new responsibilities. Highlighting opportunities for individual development and advancement drive improved employee adoption. Internal marketplaces and skills developments are only as powerful as the actual adoption rate of the organizations that are using them, and the ability to show a meaningful interest in the employee and a meaningful commitment to their improvement will drive that improved adoption. Going a bit higher level than recruiters and employees, there is opportunity from an organizational design perspective to improve recruiting outcomes. Jobs intelligence initiatives are modernizing organizations and role relationship ontologies as a way forward to reduce skills gap and ensure that employers are hiring the right candidates at the right time for the right positions. As an example, Eightfold's Job Intelligence Engine solution provides an organizational design and roles review to help those organizations identify skills gaps for current need, but also future need, such as plans for changes in product development or services offered. Skills redundancies and like positions are also identified in this process, offering opportunities for streamlining organizations and improving efficiencies. This exercise culminates in a leadership level rethinking of the organization and strategies for talent acquisition for the long term. A product of the exercise is an in-depth jobs library, cleaned up to reduce job redundancies and phase out unneeded skills over time. The jobs library provides a new level of clarity for recruiters in requisition development, ensuring that they are attracting the right talent with the right skill sets from initial requisition, which in turn will speed talent acquisition initiatives, leading to reduced work disruption and improved productivity. The use of technology solutions to build the jobs library is critical to clearly identify and measure soft and hard skills needed for particular jobs. The screenshot you see here is taken from Eightfold's Job Intelligence Engine and demonstrates how these solutions can simplify the job library development process. Another critical aspect that is becoming more and more common for employers is succession planning. Candidate matching capabilities are expanding and include strategic succession planning initiatives. Features include the ability to drag and drop a resume of an existing leader within an organization to quickly identify internal or perhaps external candidates that exist within the pipeline that possess similar skills and work history. This improves the bench strength for recruiters and the C-suite to review and select candidates, particularly for high-level leadership positions, but also becoming more common in the mid-management area. The early identification of succession planning candidates provides additional lead time for development, reducing ramp-up time in the activation of succession plans. Advanced succession planning is linked to overarching organizational strategy, aligning with long-term objectives. Identifying the right leadership that perhaps does not need to be a cookie-cutter copy of the person that was in the role now, but someone that will be a better match for the role as it evolves over the next 2 to 3 years or further. This evolution may be a result of product development, penetration into a new industry vertical, or perhaps into a new geography. The enablement of recruiters is particularly important here. So we see within the graphic to the right the succession dashboard from Eightfold's platform, which provides an analysis that shows the strength of an existing succession pipeline. Analytics such as this show where the gaps are as it relates to organizational strategy that was identified through that org design enabled through solutions such as the Job Intelligence Engine. This knowledge provides recruiters the ability to be more productive in succession planning, avoiding the pitfalls of reactive approaches to sudden high-level vacancies. Now that we've reviewed some of the AI-powered technology solutions that are increasingly critical to a successful talent acquisition capability, we'll discuss some of the outcomes derived from their utilization. So what sort of organizational outcomes can we expect from adoption of AI machine learning and talent marketplace solutions? So to run through this list, let's talk about them. Time to fill. How long does it take for an open requisition to be searched, interviewed, hired, and then onboarded? The automation of processes behind that to improve that response time provides recruiters increased opportunities to think more strategically about talent acquisition through the reduction and streamlining of administrative tasks. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Advanced analytics and candidate suggestions aligned with identified DEI goals allows improved opportunities for improved diversity outcomes at all levels of an organization. Improved candidate fit through a cleaned up jobs and skills library increases the likelihood of outreach by recruiters to appropriate candidates, leading to a better experience for those candidates in the interview process through demonstrated understanding of their capabilities and why they would be a good fit for the organization that is outreaching to them. Recruiter and hire manager experience is also improved through the use of AI by speeding the talent acquisition process, improving these roles' quality of life and daily tasks. The talent pipeline, a critical piece. AI-enabled candidate search capabilities help to ensure that recruiters are able to build their talent bench, providing a significant pipeline of resources to reach out to so there's opportunity to, again, improve that time to fill. And finally, robust talent acquisition and marketplace capabilities are proven to improve retention rates by providing opportunities for advancement as well as a demonstration from the organization of a meaningful interest in their employee well-being, which also improves tenure outcomes. As we move into the final section, let's discuss what we see on the horizon and what organizations should look for in their technology providers to enable the solutions we've discussed today. Every year, IDC publishes Futurescapes within our Future of Work and Worldwide Services practices. Through the exercise, IDC provides high-level predictions over the next several years as it relates to people and technologies. Within the talent acquisition space and the future of work space, I wanted to touch on 3 of the major predictions that I think are relevant to our discussion today. By 2023, we believe that 60% of the G2000 businesses will deploy AI and machine learning-enabled platforms to support the entire employee lifecycle experience, from onboarding through retirement. As I mentioned within survey results earlier in the presentation, adoption of AI machine learning after it becomes proven in other elements of business is becoming more commonplace, and the willingness to incur additional costs to assist with items like strategic team formation or succession planning increase. and this is likely to continue to grow. By 2023, digital transformation and business volatility will drive 70% of G2000 organizations to deploy remote or hybrid first work models, redefining work processes and engaging diverse talent pools. And as you expand these talent pools into different geographies, and as you expand your diversity goals within your organization, the automation and intelligent search capabilities of AI/ML are going to be critical to drive that growth forward. And then finally, 70% of enterprise businesses will have extensively invested in diversity, equity, and inclusion data tools and benchmarking by 2024 to define recruitment and human capital strategies. Again, having AI, machine learning, and the analytics piece on the back end that is constantly identifying and promoting diversity in the talent funnel in the existing organization while aligning with succession planning will be critical for organizations going forward. We're seeing early signs of that now with a lot of adoption happening within the DEI space, and we expect that to only continue. Going forward, here are some of the recommendations for buyers of technology solutions within the space to ensure that they're taking advantage of all the opportunities that AI, machine learning, talent marketplaces, and succession planning initiatives have to offer. So first and foremost, an intuitive user experience for recruiters and employees. If the platform is not easy to use, particularly for employees, they're simply not going to engage, especially in terms of talent marketplace solutions. Recruiters, as part of the role, of course, will have to engage. However, this will slow down their response time and their ability to fill those roles. Integrated DEI solutions for representative acquisition. Technology solutions for internal mobility must meet the same DEI standards that external acquisition processes receive in order to meet the identified corporate goals. Analytics-based decision-making. Technology solutions must provide real-time analytics that assist not only the recruiters, but also the employees in identifying professional development opportunities and skills gaps, assisting in the creation of customized learning and development solutions to groom internal hires. Customized learning and development to groom internal hires, and dovetailing there, employees expect L&D capabilities to go beyond cookie-cutter, one-size-fits-all approaches. Instead, L&D must be tailored to individual employees based upon their expressed interests and career goals. L&D needs to be treated as an employee journey, enabled through learning but also internal mobility. Seamless integration with existing applicant tracking systems. While some technology solutions discussed today are also offered by ATS providers, often these are included as part of a tech stack. The value of these solutions would diminish if not well integrated with existing systems to reduce process complexity and potential data inaccuracy. And then finally, internal communication strategy for better adoption of those talent marketplaces. As mentioned before, talent marketplaces are only as strong as the level of adoption within an organization, and a communication strategy is critical going forward, particularly at launch, to ensure strong utilization, which in turn provides and feeds the right information to the platform for the AI/ML element to make intelligent recommendations for the recruiters and for the employee. So this concludes our presentation on AI and its impacts on talent marketplaces, internal mobility, job intelligence, and succession planning. We still have a long way to go in development, and I think we're on a really solid track across all of our vendors and really looking forward to seeing what comes next.
Great. Thanks, Matt. Really enjoyed your session. So much to learn, but seems like the world is there with AI. So you covered many areas today with talent marketplaces, job intelligence, succession planning, and such. What's your thought of having all these capabilities running off a single AI platform?
Sure. So first and foremost, having all the data of candidates across a single platform reduces the chances for bad or outdated data through poor integrations. Also, just user friendliness, especially for recruiters. The average employer wants to minimize the learning curve for their talent acquisition staff. They want a quick ramp-up time. They don't want them to learn 5 or 6 different applications. They want to be able to hire a recruiter and within a week have them off to the races and running. So you don't want to have your recruiter to keep jumping around multiple platforms while you're trying to execute on what is ostensibly a single cohesive talent strategy. It's going to be disjointed. So to have all these features in one element improves response time in training and learning. Also, when updates are being made to a singular platform, they're being made with the other features in mind because it is all one platform. The developers are thinking about, how does my succession planning update impact my internal mobility functionality? And is there interplay there? And how can I, in turn, as I improve succession planning, make my internal mobility feature better, and vice versa? So it's an internal ecosystem, and I think the opportunity to find synergies happens more when you have more of these features all integrated in one platform.
Makes sense. So over the years, job intelligence or job architecture efforts have largely been long consulting projects, right? And typically ending up with another static view of the status of the jobs. So what's the opportunity now to build the AI-powered, dynamic, always current, evolving job architecture that actually unlocks the ability for organizations to become future ready?
Sure. So it's true, job intelligence exercises are within the vein of organizational design consulting and often get lumped in with process improvement reviews. That's been the traditional approach. So you're going to have professional services firms jumping in and helping with processes like that. And also the larger strategy firms are going to be doing that as well. And I think that will remain true for employers going forward for at least a little bit of time. But the advantage to an AI-driven automated solution, however, allows for some real-time adjustments to jobs libraries and descriptions. So employers are no longer bound to annual or biannual consulting engagements to remain agile in their organizational design. The time-consuming effort of a consulting engagement is minimized. Additionally, these consulting engagements, depending upon the size of your company, can be quite long and quite expensive. So from an administrative cost perspective, automation of that capability has the potential to drastically reduce overhead costs. So make no mistake, I do think that consulting firms are still going to have a play here. They're still going to be a guiding hand, especially when we're talking about high-level corporate strategy. But the extent of effort and extent of involvement for those consulting agents, I think, will diminish by the automated capabilities through AI-powered jobs intelligence engines, which really will allow the companies to do a lot of self-reflection and kind of tweak their jobs library, right? Tweak their organization as they need to in real time, not wait for these annual or biannual reviews.
Excellent. So last question, and I'll start with where, or end with where you started, the impact of COVID, right? Massive job displacement, massive labor shortage, a lot of the talent is not available, the other is just disappearing. So how do organizations adjust so that they can become future ready, but do it at scale?
And that's the trick, right? Do it at scale. And I think job displacement will continue for at least the near future, but I think we'll see some normalization as we move further into 2022, I hope. But going forward, I think the talent acquisition landscape is permanently changed. So what does that mean? That means a focus on large leaps forward in automation in all aspects of the candidate search. And one interesting area that I think employers should start thinking about now to focus as a higher priority, especially going into that normalization for next year, is compensation consulting and offer management. You have a lot of off-cycle pay increases, bonuses, etc., that are coming up frequently right now as employers are having to try harder than ever to retain talent. Once we see some normalization, I think the new challenge down the road for employers will be compensation parity, ensuring that the senior consultant you hire in 2022 is paid commensurately with the senior consultant you had in 2021, that you provided multiple off-cycle pay increases to. So it doesn't need to be a one-to-one match, but you have to be within a reasonable range. And this is also going to tie in with employer concerns with DEI as well. How do you have an equity and inclusion and also a diverse pool that is all treated fairly? And so there's going to be a lot of disparity built by this great resignation this year. And there's going to be a lot of thought that needs to go into that into next year to mitigate that disparity.
Great guidance. And I really appreciated how when after you had laid out the strategy and some of the tactics being deployed, you also then had a very good perspective on outcomes also, so that we all are headed in a particular direction and not just putting in the effort without a way to measure the success. So thank you so much. Really helpful. The blueprint is clearly becoming a little more clearer now, and really appreciate your time with us.
It's my pleasure, Kamal. And watch this space, because I think we're going to see it continue to evolve rapidly.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining this session today on Talent Intelligence Technologies with Matt Merker of IDC. The recording for this presentation will be made available on Eightfold's website at Eightfold.ai. Have a nice day.